You know how we gonna go in the sun. Turn your heads left or right. I got company, the three and the lion. Was a bit moody, but now I feel better. Beautiful flowers. Look at those beautiful flowers in the corner. And hope I get a little bit of sun. It is the 15th of October. Wednesday, financially stressed. Paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my Netflix. Fourth and last bill I gotta pay. I got 6 days. I think I'm gonna do it within the next 4 days to pay my phone bill. Let's check the price of gas. Yeah, it stays steady as yesterday. Always marching for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the electricians, the plumbers, the doctors, the welders, the grocery store clerks. I was a bit moody for like almost 45 minutes, you know, from like 3:00, from like 3:11 until 3:57, because I left at 3:57 p.m. Hot Isle, Montreal. The sun is gonna shine. The sun, my Publik king, gonna burst through those clouds. Give me some of that October sun, and always good to get some, you know. Always marching for the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the welders, the nurses, the butchers, the grocery store clerks. We're gonna get another strike coming here in Montreal, you know. Totally understandable. I'm a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. I'm a androgynous pansexual aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical analyst, theorist, thinker and strategist, and mystic. I believe in those reincarnations, and I see there's a little bit of that already for the holidays here. For the holidays, little cuties, embellishing the trajectory as I go, you know, and got some beautiful flowers in the corner, and I must circumvent, do that circle roundabout, because this is something which I really love, you know. The youth are joyous, happy, and these yellow flowers really make me happy and joyous, and these ones, the bright ones as well, and these ones, the yellow ones, and these ones, the yellow ones. They're holding hands here, the youth in the corner, you know, their safety, their joy. That's of course something which I gotta send that LOV, because it's not all about the money, so that's always something which I gotta see. They're hugging there. That's the best moment of the day. That's what it's all about, man. You know, look at those beautiful yellow flowers, and those are just gorgeous here. You know, they have those nice petals, and it's really amazing. And they just had a big hug, and I don't know if they're a couple or whatever, not just friends from high school, but that made my whole day. Somebody hugged, a good hug. I counted about almost 45 seconds, you know. But of course, that is something which I gotta be saying, you know, to salute and to be mindful of. And we got some leaves accumulations here. Leaves accumulated, you know. It's gonna be that leaf season. See, started there in the corner. So we're gonna get a little bit of that rock and roll, man. And more leaves are going. And now I'm happy, joyous, you know. I saw somebody hugging, and I guess 16, 17-year-olds, teenagers there in the corner. And that gives me hope, because it's not all about the money, Wall Street. And you know, Habs won last night, so as somebody who loves sports, dancing is my favorite sport. You know, I'm Rainbow Dragon, independent fitness captain, and who lost about between 80 and 93 pounds myself since I started my fitness journey. And Habs won. We're 4-2 now, so beautiful flowers in the corner there as well. We're 4-2, so we got a good start to the season, I guess, as my 49ers made it for 4-2 also. So Habs are 4-2, Canadians, our Habs are 4-2, NFL are 4-2, and of course that's what it is with that. That's how we gotta get doing on that drill, you know. Always for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and I wish I could have, you know, some money. If I would be a billionaire, I would definitely give a little bit of charity, you know. Definitely would give a little bit of charity with that to get it on the go, you know, to rehabilitate somebody. Don't be so selfish, billionaires, you know. That's always what I love when I see people rehabilitated. I guess I'm on my 4th rebirth as well, you know. On my 4th rebirth as well. I've been, you know, suffered, struggled, and survived COVID and been depressed, been suicidal. And if I would have been a billionaire now, I would definitely go before the holidays, just give 50,000, you know, to people who need it on the side, of course, to get it, to change their time, turn their lives around, and of course to rehabilitate, and of course to get it on the drill with that, and to get it on the go, of course, for the left, for the right, of course always in the middle, and always for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, man. See, we got some food there. I got leftover turkey, but I'm gonna take this. So I guess when I'm gonna come back, they've got some food there, and it's always good, you know. Got some more food there, so that's what we got, you know. And that's what we're gonna get drilling with that, man. Got some nice food, and see, we gotta clear a little bit of the road here. See, this is empty, but somebody filled it early with some food, you know. So that's always good. Get a drill, and I'm gonna put it in the backpack. That's gonna be my reward when I come back. Thank you, farmers, firefighters, butchers, electricians, nurses, and doctors, and the plumbers, and the welders, and all those, of course, involved in the production, distribution of food. And of course, it is something we gotta get that truckers as well. You know, probably got transported, and the bakers, the nurses, those. How food is super important, and nowadays with, you know, food bank has skyrocketed. Food. I think you dropped a coin. Oh, I think you dropped a coin. Food bank has skyrocketed. I heard a coin drop, and I'm financially stressed, but probably my anonymous friend there also, cousinettes, you know. I don't know, maybe she's a billionaire. If you are, give from charity, you know. And guess here, look at those beauties, eh? Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. These are so gorgeous, but just please don't leave trash here, you know. Just this trash has to be put to get garbage, and these are super nice. See, you got on the side there, and that's some grown there. See, you got some growth. So this is a common garden here. So just please don't pollute, you know. Don't leave trash there on the go. And that is just something which we have, of course, to be now, of course, to get it on the left and the right and in the middle, you know, and get, of course, on the where we are now today in the relativeness of our affairs, you know, to be grateful, super grateful now. I got food when I come back, and I'm no longer moody. I was just moody, you know. Sometimes it's subconscious the way, sometimes it's subconscious here from my neighborhood, and maybe I was craving some massage therapy sessions, you know. I'm an N.A.C.W.P, but I like physicality, I like dancing, I like, you know, massages and all that, but maybe I should have taken a bath, shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, today, tonight, tomorrow. I gotta be grateful that I have a bathtub, and, you know, this civilization is a privilege, to have running water, electricity, running water. This is how you gotta cross the street, of course, by turning your heads left or right, right or left, and of course those are the relations what we have now to be. It is something which we gotta be thinking about on a constant daily basis. And when I'm in the public now, I have added responsibilities, duties, and obligations that I would not have if I would have stayed at home in my underground layer, you know. And I've been doing some hours and hours of geopolitical theorizing. That was that drill with that, you know. And see, I got a post with here because, you know, I love these yellows, and you see there in the back there's yellow flowers flowering up, and I love these. So here, yeah. Just gotta say, love those yellow flowers right there, you know. It's just something which we have now to appreciate. These ones are also so gorgeous. These are just so alive, you know. Looks like they're alive, maybe they are, I don't know. Just so beautiful there in the corner, just they look alive, you know, flashing like colorful orange, flaming orange, you know. Maybe they are, I don't know. I guess they are to me, you know. Mother Nature's goddess, and G-O-D-D-S is the goddess, you know. So we got a little bit of those flowers here and there, and that's always quadrupling my smile as I go along the way. But You know, those teenagers hugging there, that was a little bit of that good loving. And I love that. I don't want to stare. With my Asperger condition, sometimes I tend to look at people or objects or fixed positions, like kind of staring, but it's not intentionally to harm or be malicious or negative. It's just because Asperger's is this neurological mental divergent condition which makes us Aspies different, and we have these more weird, awkward, strange characteristics. And I gotta give a shout out here. This is really good. Although call it a hard now for the children to be reduce the cost, you know. Reduce the cost, you know. Reduce the cost of the candies, you know. Reduce the cost of the candies. And reduce the cost of the candies, you know. Reduce the cost of the candies ASAP. It's the 15th of October today, so 16 more days. Not a lot of time left. See, this is another Aspie thing. So Aspies would focus on these details. See there's a number. I think that's a 7 point, and then there's 2245. See, Aspies, this is an Aspie trait, so you're gonna get a little bit of Aspiness, of course. Asperger characteristics as we go. The Asperger traits and characteristics, and again when I use the word Asperger's, because that's the neurological mental divergent which I live with. And of course you're in Hawk Island, Montreal, so you're gonna see those habs flying habs, the flag of the habs. And when I use HFA, high functioning autism, is one and the same, because they merged in 2013, 2014. So now Asperger's and high functioning autism, HFA, is one and the same. Quite cuties here too, eh? Hello. Flowers as I go to the mountain, and that beautiful red there. Isn't that just gorgeous? To the eyes it just looks alive as well, like translucent. What a beautiful autumn. The trees here are just gorgeous. 4 seasons, you know, we get that 4 seasons. Hawk Island, Montreal, and that's how we rock and roll, you know. Just turn your heads left or right, because you never know, the brakes might malfunction. Even if it's a one-way street, see, it's a one-way street, you gotta turn your heads left or right, even if it's a one-way, because the brakes might malfunction. The electricity of the brake might malfunction. The citizen driver might press the accelerator. So these are all possibilities of occurrence, you know, as I go now, you know, and a zigzag it, and go on different types of snakes. Well, snakes is kind of, because when I say going on snakes, it's basically the trails and the roads that I take are kind of like a coiled snake was a coiled or springing, a coiled snake about to spring, you know. So just in that way that I meant snake, not in a negative way, because I know some people don't like spiders and snakes and scorpions and other creatures of the night like crows, but I like them, you know. I like it, and I don't mind snakes with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing for that Hydro-Quebec. That's the Hydro-Quebec truck. I gotta salute the workers of the past. That's why I've been able to do this electricity with clean, zero pollution, zero electricity. That electricity I'm utilizing, electricity that does not pollute, right? So that's the Hydro-Quebec truck there. Gotta salute the Hydro-Quebec, and be mindful, eh? Because all the electricity here that we use in Quebec, and it goes all the way to 5, and I think even six states in the U.S., all the way to Manhattan Island it goes, right? So of course it's clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. It does not pollute at all. Well, not at all, like close to zero, I guess. There's some level of inevitable pollution, but there's a minimal pollution, right? It's very minimal. It's very minimal, you know. So of course all that characteristics what we have now to do, and to be in the domains, of course, of having certain privileges of civilization. I gotta salute that privilege particularly, because having electricity, you know, and I'm doing this video with clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy myself, so I gotta salute Hydro-Quebec workers of the past, present. Watching when you cross the street there, cousins, brothers, sisters here, and aunties, and you know where I pass by here because I wanna go to the garden. I wanna check the garden out there while it's still good, and it's a garden of October, you know. So yeah. October garden. I'm gonna get to wait a bit till people cross the street, you know. There's a nice garden there in the back, super nice garden. They have these amazing flowers. I don't know all their names, but they're really gorgeous. They're really gorgeous. Now, I guess now we can cross, and I'm still gonna wait a bit. It's better to wait, you know, be patient, and the mountain will still be there, I guess, unless the mountain's not there anymore. My second home, Mount Royal, that's where we're headed, because yesterday we went by the river, and now we're gonna go by the side here, you know, gonna wait a bit. There we go, now we can pass. Took a few seconds, I guess, but better be, you know, cross the street safely, turn our heads left or right with that. That's what we gotta get doing on that, you know. So of course it's something which we have to be loving about, you know. All this civilization is a privilege, and that green belongs to Hydro-Quebec, so that's part of the infrastructure which allows us to have electricity. And of course as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, you know, I always pinpointed in, of course, the integral geopolitical perspective where we have these vulnerabilities, eh? We have these vulnerabilities. So we're all vulnerable, you know. Ourselves, I myself have my own vulnerability, of course. Well, we have, of course, the appellation where we have now to be. Oh, maybe the sun, I'm hoping for a big sun rays, maybe. I'm hoping for a big sun rays, maybe, you know. So of course this is why I'm coming here, you know, in the interposition, of course, where we are now. See, look at that, look at that. Isn't this gorgeous? This is why we came. Told you. Look at these, look at this cluster right here, eh? Now this is really amazing, eh? These are just gorgeous. See, look at that, man. This whole cluster here is just amazingly beautiful. So that's why I love coming by here, passing here, you know. It's something which we gotta be. Look at these. These are so nice as well, eh? Smelly ones. Yeah, they have a scent and rugged, but these ones also, eh? Are special. All of them have a unique beauty to them, eh? Of course, are very unique. These ones are the same as the other ones, but it's just gorgeous to pass here because this is October and they're still here. That's, I guess, king, queen, 50-50 like myself, being androgynous, you know, many past lives, many incarnations. Yeah, the crows say go dragon, go to the mountain. Or the past life was priestess. I still am today, priestess, Hannah. Keep my name out of your mouth if it's not for a blessing. Otherwise, let it be business. And these ones are also super nice. They're super tall, eh? Look at that. So we gotta get on that drill now to be gorgeous, eh? Yeah, these are lovely. Can I smell them? They have a little scent. They're not that scented, but they're super beautiful. Just amazingly beautiful, you know. So that is just amazingly beautiful with that. And those ones are as well amazingly beautiful. And these ones also, see, look at that. They're getting on that drill. And here we got the king, queen. And I love this combination. The red and the white. The red and the white. The red and the white. Gotta look at that. Yeah. Love it, hey? It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Thank you, workers who took their time, you know, to, of course, the yellow ones there and the yellow ones there, and some more there. So I love passing by here, and I'm so glad it's 15th of October, but they're still flowering with that good vibrant color, eh? Good vibrant color. They're like alive, flaming alive color. Colors in the garden. Got a garden that you see. Who's the flowers that you see? Yellow that I love, they sprout from the black fertile earth. With the water from the sky, with the thunder, let me lies, the clouds. Oh, rock and roll 24/7 means rock and roll, sports, fitness, dancing is my favorite sport, and geopolitics, although it was moody between like 3:11 and 3:56. For like almost 45 minutes. I'm feeling better now. I was just craving maybe a massage, or maybe sometimes a little bit of PTSD, maybe, you know, PTSD, and I've struggled lots, and I'm good now. My only stress in the past years, to be honest, has been financial, and is financial economic today, and many are, just so I'm gonna address the discussions of gonna address as I go to the mountain, my second home, the labor and love, the strikes. They're on a strike, huh? It's a strike now, and there are strikers, and for the second time, 3 weeks ago, they were on a strike. The big STM here, we are living in Hawk Island, Montreal, aka Hawk Island. N.A.C.W.P, Montreal is an island surrounded by a big river. And of course, it's 2.5 million people. 2.5 million people. See, the squirrels are gonna eat a little bit for that winter, getting chubbier, adding a little bit of extra weight in order for them to survive the winter, and they do. We have so many squirrels here. Squirrels it's like a whole empire of squirrels here in Montreal. And of course, that is just the characteristic of the squirrels, that they start to eat more starting like September when it gets colder. So they kind of have like an internal clock, and I'm not a botanist or biology in the specifics. My field is geopolitics and then rock and roll, sports and fitness, but I know a little bit, and that's basically their internal clock, and telling them they have to fatten up, eat up, get that extra layer because winter's coming. And it's quite amazing, how we got flora, fauna here. And of course we got the evergreens, which they're evergreen in December, January, February, and the snowstorms as well. We got those evergreens. They're always green. Evergreens are always green. And the other ones are, of course, changing beautiful colors, which is a beauty. And maybe my friend, anonymous friend, will come over the weekend to the mountain with me and go, because that's where I go often, sometimes every day to the mountain. As I have Asperger's, I have that kind of ritual-like routine, not that severe and extreme in not being flexible for change, especially economic, financial, and friends with benefits only. I don't want to waste anybody's time. If you're 18 plus, don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Friends with benefits only, what for otherwise? Look at that red, wow. Mother Nature really is a great scientist. I'm wearing red pants, red backpack, a little bit of red on the habs, red. This one, I'm auctioning everything that I'm wearing, and the what's red? The holder for the cell phone holder for the work tool that I'm doing the video now with. So these are twins, red twins right there. That's what I'm calling them, the red twins. I guess they're gonna be red like that for the next 11 days, and then the cycle restarts anew, and as I have my routines, pretty much routines of the representation, of course, what we got now, to be situational awareness, of course, in all the dynamics where we are now, sometimes which we have to be in, of course, on the representations, of course, in the representative aspects of going to the mountain. That is always the domains where we got now to live by here, in the representations of our domains where we literally have to make this compromise for each other, for us, for different citizens and peoples, and of course for my fellow cousins, aunties, and all here who are going around about their business. And that's why you gotta turn your head left or right, when you cross the street and you see wonders of nature there. Kind of has a little bit of that wonder nature, and that's what they gotta get doing like that. They get it on the drill, so it's always a representational officiatum where we have the individual and then the collective responsibilities, duties and obligations. And of course the duties and obligations are, of course, in the individual manner, of course, as being translucent and transparent, and of course of all the domains where we have now to be category, of course, categorical insights, of course, in all the domain where we have now these left and right dynamics. See, for example, here the car doesn't have to stop, but there's a stop, see? So the stop is there, see? But not on this side. So now it's north and south, right? North and south. So if you go the other way, there's no stop there, right? Only in the other side there's a stop. So of course all those dynamics which yourself you have to do yourselves with, all those dynamics which of course all the dynamics where we have now interdependent and of course interpositions and interposed, where we have of course those dynamics of the societal aspects. See, for example, here it's a one-way, right? See, here's a one-way, right? Here's a one-way, but here they can go straight like that. They can go straight like that. They can go straight like that, They can go straight. So that's the problem that sometimes you have to face, Sometimes you have to face, So of course, sometimes you have to face left and right. north and south. So both, of course, you have to face both. So that is just the reality of how streets are made. So thus, in certain corners, there's an added risk. If you want to analyze it in such a way, there's a less of a risk in certain corners, right? If it's one way, but then if you have tourists or people who don't know that it's a one way, then you might have an additional outlier risk. I'm not going to go into the statistical dimensions of what are the possibilities and odds. Of course, there are possibilities and odds, but they're diminishing because most people who are living in the neighborhood, and of course who come in the neighborhood on a daily basis, frequent know that there's a one-way street. Thus, they know that they might know in the neighborhood that there's no stop there, no pause there, no stop to be made. In that specific, transversally, I meant going east and west, right? Because now I'm going west and east. It's not north and south. So when you have the adjacent north and south parallels, then you have to turn your heads left and right several times. Look at this beautiful Halloween. So myself, I have had the responsibilities, duties and obligations now, duties and obligations now, Look at that beautiful spider. But not just me versus you all, and you all counterpoise to myself, but towards each other, right? And yeah, I am strange, bizarre, awkward, and weird, in certain communications because of my neurodivergent is of course different. So this difference, of course, is not the same in certain upper. It's not the same because I'm part of this minority, I'm part of this minority. I'm part of this minority. Part of this minority. So of course, being that I'm part of this minority, right? I am part of less than 1% of the population who lives with that Asperger's, HFA, also known as HFA, high functioning autism. Compared to you, who are the vast majority of the population, you fall under the category of being a neurotypical, right? So thus, we have this added dimension. But what's the collective? That we're all citizens. So I always put it up for the Canada coast to coast. I got that Canada tatted up, I'm gonna show off. So I think I spotted the flag, and see, there's flag spotted there. Flag spotted. Flag spotted, flag spotted, flag spotted. My brothers and sisters, there's a bit of a problem here. It should be in the garbage. If children pass, and you see those spills there, they might swallow those spills. So what I'm gonna take this basket and I'm gonna throw it in the garbage. Because those spills, by mistake, children can be playing, and I don't know what they are, and they can be swallowed. So that's dangerous, right? So don't leave pills like that, put it in the garbage, because children might swallow that. You might have children playing here, and they grab, right? They grab. I don't know what those pills are. They might grab, but just be attentive, and we have to, this is a serious concern here. So this is going to be put in the garbage, but just maybe that's why I was saved. Maybe I saved 4 children, I don't know if they would have been that harmful, but you never know with children. If they're 6 and 7 playing here and going there, checking their, exploring that, or from there they swallow that. I don't know what those pills are. That is very, very not to do. So we must do our citizen and let people know not to do that. Even if they're not that harmful, this has to be garbage. You don't leave that there, okay? Just for the children, because they can swallow those pills, and these have to be properly put into a garbage, And you got the antibacterial there. You gotta be put into a garbage properly. So that's what we're gonna do. Maybe that's what I was saved myself for, because I was attacked by surprise viciously years ago. I survived a vicious surprise attack. I was hit in the head a few times and hit my head on the floor. It wasn't a fair fight. It was just a vicious surprise attack. It was no, let's go, I'm challenging you to a fight. And I'm somebody who doesn't like violence. I am hyper vigilant. I have plenty of scars on the body, and even on my little clit, clit, being androgynous, sometimes goes rocket, as earlier today. Once in a while, on occasion. But I was viciously attacked by surprise. Hit my head on the concrete. was bloodied up, and went to the Jewish General Hospital, and the doctors there at the emergency room cracked back my dislocated right arm, right shoulder, because I had a dislocated right arm and right shoulder. I had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder. Beautiful. Children are gonna love it. Please reduce the cost of the tickets of the NFL, NHL, MLB, and please millionaires, billionaires, give some good financing for the children's wellness, for their joy for Halloween. Although I'm gonna get dressed up. Yeah, there's some sun. Like I was saying, I have to retrieve the archives of the Jewish General Hospital to see when exactly was it. When was it exactly? What date? Here you gotta turn your heads left or right. You never know, they can come from that way, They can come from that way and the other way. And here you got a little bit of that rock and roll, and got some more you got some more of those. I'm just gonna make sure this doesn't go in. I'm gonna put it like that so they don't fall on the ground. It's safe now, they're not gonna fall on the ground, but I'm really concerned, about those spills there, And here's because they were left there. And so see, there are two different ones. See there, those ones, there are three different ones. Three different sorts, right? There are three different sorts. So that's why there's a little bit of a problem with that rock and roll, with that whoopsie. So, yeah. So next time you throw these away, you make sure that you put that in the garbage, okay? Just this we should instruct as our security forces should just make sure monthly. Maybe we should finance billionaires from the public-private partnership plus Canada, Now they're on strike as well, but to have a bi-weekly, weekly, adverse, a bi-weekly, of course, a weekly, bi-weekly, of course. What's up? What's up? Beautiful yellow flowers there. Grazie. See, there's 1, 2, 3 different ones, maybe even 4 different ones. So that's why I'm gonna have to put them properly in a proper garbage, So here we're gonna take 4 steps to the left and to the right. When I see children and parents, I'm gonna take 4 steps left, 4 steps right, because of course I have the backpack, and for their safety, my prudence, of course, is something what we have now concomitantly to do, and maybe that's what I was saying, You see here, there we go. Yeah, those pills have to be put in the garbage, Have to be put in the garbage, I'm gonna cross on the other side, cross left and right, because if there were children playing were 6, 7, 8, even 11, they could have went and dug the hey, what's this? Let's eat it, and ended up at the emergency room with that. So this should be something which we gotta be mindful about, There's the flag. I always have it on me. Flag spotted. And make sure. Cross the street safely. Here there's no stop, Watch it. See, there's no stop there because they're going east. The cars are heading east as I'm heading east. There's only stops in the transversal north and south. See, so that is an added risk. See, those cars have to stop. But the ones crossing here, no. So when you cross from there to there, you're at an added risk. The risk factor. See, they have to stop. But when coming on the other side, they don't have to stop. They don't have to stop. Right? They don't have to stop. Only on the other side. Only on the other side. And it's a one-way. It's a one-way, basically, right? It's a one-way. Just want to check out that spider, big spider there. It's a one-way, but again, the mistakes can happen and occur. This is what I want to see here. Oh yeah. Spider, 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 spider. Oh, nice. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. What a biggie. What a beauty. White, black, and red. That's a nice one. White, black, and red, man. That's super nice. I love it. Love that spiderino there. And you got some other decorations there for that Halloween. And I call it a heart again, you know. And I'm just financially stressed myself. I would do it. And got some more pumpkins there. And some more decoration decors there. I love it, I love it, I love it. And if I'll be a millionaire, I would definitely finance, you know, and get candies for the children because it's their pleasure, their joy, you know, and something which I love. Halloween myself, I'm going to be wearing a disguise myself. Massachusetts. Welcome to the 50 states. I was born in the United States 3 times. Once as a woman I was born, I lived as a woman, twice as a man, served in the United States Armed Forces, 2 different incarnations, 2 past lives, 2 different incarnations, 2 past lives, and 156 years apart, you know, 156 years apart. The wars were 156 years apart, par contre, although it was the same U.S. Army, and post 1776, I was born in the United States thrice, 3 times, once as a woman, though, in my previous incarnations, past life, sometimes I was born a man, a woman, a man, a man, a woman, a woman, man, man, a woman, a woman, a man, man, a woman, a woman, a man, man, a woman, a woman, a man, man, a woman, so many times, a man, a woman, that you get that 50-50 now. Androgynous, pansexual, aspie artist, and philosopher, and who's financially stressed, who's survived a vicious surprise attack. I went to the Jewish General Hospital. I gave myself 4 different things to do before October 31st. One of it is to retrieve my archives from the Jewish General Hospital. I'm curious what time it was. I got 4 main things to do before October 31st on October 31st. One of it is to retrieve my archives, the archives from the Jewish General Hospital. The archives from the Jewish General Hospital. Yeah, beautiful embellishments. See, look at those beauties, white and blending here. Thank you, public workers who build it. It requires brains and muscle, you know. I'm gonna step, do that calculation of the velocity and step. So 4 things to do before or even on this October 31st. It's nice because Halloween this year is a Friday, so I can party up for the Sabbath. One is retrieve my archives, to do a big cleaning of my room, office, and temple, give some clothes and other things that I were not aware to the garbage. Look at that beautiful tree, eh? 4 big branches, how they're spread. They're kind of 180 degrees, and then they have 1, 2, 3, 4 angles in them, you know, because the 180 plus the 3 inside. So that one, this is a bit of an aspiness, aspie characteristics. So I try to do a little bit of the mathematical calculations of the angles, and you know, this is something which is a constant thing with me, mathematics, on the calculations of the mathematical representations where we are different, and sometimes we just calculate the mathematics, right, in the way that we are to be proficient about, and make sure that we got the dynamics involved in the calculative expressions of the calculations, you know. So of course all that is to say that these 4 things which I have to do, of course, before and on October 31st, one of which is of course to go and retrieve the archives at the Jewish General Hospital. The other one is to clean my room, office, and temple. And one is write some letters and invitations for my dream, for my project, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. The Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. I'm gonna get out of the way. My fellow cousin was doing a little bit of those steps there concomitantly, and of course to get it on that drill. And the other dynamics which of course we have is maybe on the 31st also to propose again, get a 3rd proposal. I got 2 no's, and you know, it's gonna be a special androgynous pansexual marriage. If it is, get a yes, you know. Special type of marriage because I'm part of the LGBTQ community, androgynous pansexual, and that's just what we have to do together, you know. But it's gonna be a special one. If I get a yes the third time, maybe I'm gonna have to bite in it. Joe Biden, so the legend goes that he proposed 6 times he got a no, then the 7th time he got a yes. And you know, it's a Dragon versus Trump event, so Dragon versus Trump since 2018. I got those red gloves in the backpack and have been and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since Donald Trump made the mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, you know, and that's what it is with that drill, and that's how we're gonna go do it. And what I'm looking for is a garbage that has a cover, you know, that can be covered actually in order to drop these. Because see, there's a bunch of pills there, and so we were concerning that they were right there. And these pills, there's a way to go dispose at the eco center of them. There's a way to dispose at the eco center of them, but I don't think these are necessary for that. But if you have batteries and other things, you know, we have a lot of work to do, you know, in the environment. It takes the individual action. Of course, if we don't do it, the individual action, right? Because sometimes I do it myself for years and years and years. I have been doing it, and have been doing that work and cleaning the mountain and changing if it's the recycling. If it goes in the recycling, it goes in the recycling. If it goes in the garbage, it goes in the garbage. But sometimes you notice that what is supposed to go in the garbage goes in the recycling, and vice versa. What is supposed to go in the recycling goes in the garbage. So basically it takes the individual effort to do. As I said, you know, yours truly, I'm gonna get myself to do 4 things before or on October 31st. Maybe I'm gonna propose on October 31st per se. Maybe on October 31st directly. Maybe we're gonna get that proposal on October 31st. If not, on October 31st is the deadline, so Friday by 11:59 and 59 seconds, because after a few seconds it of course transports to that Saturday. So that is just something which we have, of course, to get it on the domain of the level of the levels of the parameters where we live now today, in the circumpositions of living in this through North Strong and Free, which we gotta add some loving. And look at that beauty. Isn't that just beautiful? Looks like 2 twins. See, he's got 1 branch, he's got 3, and then branched out to 6, and the other one is almost identical. See, from the same root, then they spread out like twins. See what I'm saying? That branch kind of looks very similar, almost identical to the other. See, it's kind of like twins there. And they're twins, but they're one, right? They're one. But they're twins, huh? Kind of like one body with 2 exactly twin heads, you know, like almost. But one kind of looks slightly different. One kind of looks more moody, more angry, more punishing. The other one looks more welcoming and embracing, you know. At least from that, from my emotionness, I guess, as I was in motion, but maybe not specifically, you know. And I see what I wanna go drop the garbage is there, because that's where it's gotta be dropped. So right there, see. Oh, I gotta not drop that on the way. Well, this can be actually recycled. Right, that can be recycled. This can be recycled. This can be recycled, right? These can be recycled. So these are recyclables. But the other ones, no, this is not. So, yeah, see, there's a recyclable or not recyclable, but there's some things are not, you know. So, of course, all that domain where we have to be now. See, we got that, and those are, of course, the manifestations which we are now, to be on the loving side of the aspects now, and that's just the domain, see. Look at that. Too many pills, man. That could have, maybe that's what I would say myself. Maybe could have brought 4 children playing. They could have swallowed and say, hey, look at those. Could have swallowed that. So maybe that's why I would save myself, you know, to do some good deeds. See, there's 3 different types of pills, you know. See, there's 3 different types of pills. See, 3 different ones. So don't leave that. Make sure there's no in, and this one is Now it's empty appeal. See, now this one we're gonna recycle it. So this one's for the garbage, and the other one's gonna put in recycling there at a corner, you know, and then hydrate. So that's what we'll do. Now those are garbage. The black ones with the white one are garbage. The green ones are recycling. Right, so that's what we have to do there. So just make sure, you know, because you never know. Here's a doggy park, you know. Here's a doggy park. Make sure that you don't do that. And I have to go to the washroom there, so that's perfect for me. And disinfect my hands, wash my hands, you know. So that's something where we have, of course, to be in the circumstantial position of where we are now, to be, of course, and that is just something where we have to be for the congregation, of course, of doing it here now, see? There we go, see? There we go. And if you love dogs and you have dogs, you can come here. It's a great dog park. Right here is a great dog park, and here we're gonna come and we're gonna do what we gotta do, see? Here, we're gonna do what we gotta do. Clean, keep it clean, don't pollute. Hey, just, yeah, that's a nasty thing. See those numbers right away? I try to focus and see what is up with those numbers in the corner. And no, you will not hear me pee. So we're gonna get a little bit of that moisturizing hand sanitizing cream for the disinfectant, you know. It's cold. It's just moisturizing sanitizer. It kills bacteria and germs. Kills bacteria and germs. Kills the bacteria, kills the germs. That's what we want, basically, you know. Kill the bacteria, kill the germs. So just because there's no water to wash the hands, but just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, then 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, we gotta go. Keep it clean, you know. Disinfect. This is Publik, and that's what we gotta do. Rock and roll and go to the mountain, you know. Just keep it clean. And now we're going to the mountain with that on the rock and roll, you know, always for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. Gotta check a little bit of that, see if it works. And usually there are a few seconds. This is a privilege of civilization right here. Thank you to the workers who build it. How many 3Gs, 4Gs, 5Gs are across the 10, the 15, the 3, the 63? Get at HYDRAT. Oh yeah. Gotta get drilling, man. Yeah. That is what we have to get drilling with that, and that's just something which we gotta get drilling on that rock and roll, you know, to get doing, and that's just something which we have to be doing now in the prepositions, in the left and right, and those, of course, discussions of civilization and its privileges. As I go to the Mount Royal now, Mount Royal, my second home, and well hydrated. Thank you, workers, of course. So imagine all the aqueducts underneath the ground. Thank you, workers of the past. It is privilege of civilization. That was my thesis back in 2023. You know, the privilege of civilization. That's just something which we have, of course, now categorically, as the privilege of civilization is everywhere around us. Privilege of civilization is everywhere around us, you know. I want to check a little bit of that voting, what's going on with the vote. It's November 2nd. We're going to see where it is. And this one is another vote here. Haven't decided, have to make a little bit of that arrangement to see who I'm going to vote for. But of course, going to have to make a little bit of that study. It is a geopolitical event in many ways of the North American Collective, you know. Always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. Always for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, and don't tell nobody. But I really had to go to the washroom and like 4 little drops. Actually a little bit medium, bigger size. Chuck, 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 chuck. 4 times we kind of sprayed. I guess it's just water, but see, that's another aspy thing. Then to look at those weird details there. Details, of course, it's Canada, supposedly made in Canada, Quebec, and of course we got some more details there, such as the kilos and other, which we have my time to cross there. Gotta get on that drill and cross prudently. Got 9 seconds, 7 seconds, 7 seconds, 4 seconds. I'm gonna wait for the other time. No wait to rush. Mountain's still gonna be there, I think so. I hope so. If the mountain's still not there, I'm gonna be in trouble. Eh? My second home, and we got the island there, you know, in the positions. I'm just gonna go check a little bit. See, this is Asperger's one-on-one, aka HFA. So we Aspies sometimes we're weirdly concerned about these weird details, such of course as the numbers there. See, the numbers, the dates. Of course, those are technical matters, right? Those are more technical matters on it. But we can see, of course, that they have certain it's a signal which was from .ca. If you want to check the corporation, I guess it's Canadian made, but we don't know if the steel, the aluminum, if all the components are made in Canada. We can check, you know, seeing those details there. That I have really no idea what it is, but is that was produced in 2005? Maybe, hey, 2005, maybe that's what that means. Sometimes those are just the little details, but sometimes there's classification, you know, and we're concerned about certain details like that. Although, you know, my personal memory, you know, my personal memory goes, of course, on the left and on the right, and on the go with that, you know. The personal memory I have lost, I have trouble remembering personal memory back to, of course, January, February 2014. So before like winter 2014, that's just something which we have to be understanding about. But sometimes memory comes back. So I have a very good memory just of the past 11 years, you know. But considering that January, February 2014, because then if we take consideration that we're the 15th of October, so it's March, like April, let's say April, May, June, July, August, September, then October. It's more than 11 years and a half ago, winter 2014, you know, like just before my life, before January, February 2014, before like winter 2014. It's like a blackout, you know. Look at that. Children gonna love it, love it, love it. I love it. Please reduce the cost of the Halloween candies. Another, call it a heart, you know, call it a heart. That's why I was crossing there to see. And here you don't, it's a one-way really, but you never know. Just turn left or right anyways, you know. Left or right anyways. Left or right. And we got some voting again going on, and see how my brain now works, functions, because I see these cars. I try to calculate mathematically the cost, the living cost of living increase, and of course all the other proposals is where we have, of course, to be now. The fact that they're eating more gas, they're consuming more gas than before, of course. More gas than before. But not that there's more gases, the gas is more costly. So per distance is the same amount that they will consume per 100 kilometers, but they will pay more. Average 75%. So the trucks also, if they're hybrid, it's less. If they're electric, it's not considerable. You cannot calculate because it's electric is different, but of course for gas. So the firefighter for gas. So I'm gonna just make an estimation, but I cannot really be precise because my special interest is not automobiles, cars. If an Aspie would have cars and automobiles as the special interest, then the Aspie would know exactly. See, for example, these 4 cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? These cars, they all have a certain aspect of how much they consume per 100 kilometers, right? Per 100 kilometers. So that will always be the same, you know? That will always be the same. So that will be a constant. What is a variable? The variable is the amount that the individual drivers pay. That has changed since 2020 from 93 cents average in February 2020 to about $1.63 in September. Now it's went down a bit, but in September it was about that. In September it was about that, you know. In September that's what it was about. So the estimation is that it's about 75% more that it costs. The cost per liter, and thus per 10 liters per 100 liters. So it increases exponentially if you do the calculation as we did yesterday. Right, we're gonna get a bit into that, but suffice it to say that that is a big element of the cost of living having increased, and why so many people have a difficulty now, have problems now with the cost of living, because gas is a major component of our daily expenses, right? Because if they have to commute the same as before 2020, can I go through here like that? Yeah. If they have to pay the same as before 2020, then they pay 75% more. Right? If they still have to commute the same distance, all of these cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's all the cars which are not electric and are not hybrid. It doesn't apply if they're electric or hybrid. Then that automatically implies and means that they're paying automatically 75% more per liter, about. Right? So per liter. So that is the calculation per liter. Per calculation per liter. So that is the calculation per liter, right? That is just, of course, per liter, which is more expensive by 75%. It doesn't apply for other things. You know? It doesn't apply for other things. It applies for the calculation per liters. And that is basically the same. I'm just gonna go a bit. This is where I come from. Hava. You don't have the regular one no more?
What is regular?
The plane.
The plane?
Yeah. Usually I buy the plain. I don't usually buy the chocolate or the. I like the plain ones better.
The chocolate. The seeds
Yeah.
with sunflowers.
But it has
With seeds.
See, they put the peanuts in.
Yeah.
Usually I buy it like just plain. Whatever. I'll try it and see next time. Yeah, see, this one has the
Peanuts.
peanuts. Yeah, whatever. Guess I could just not eat them, eh?
Another receipt?
Yeah, thank you. Do you have one of those translucent white bags? Can you give me one, please? Thanks. Oh, yeah. Double it, double it. Can we double it? After we put, yeah, because this will maybe pierce through it for one, you know? Yeah, two are better. Thanks. I'm just gonna do like this. 1, 2, 3. This is where I store it in my room, you know? I'm gonna do all this in a day. How's your French?
What?
How's your French?
C'est bon.
Ah, c'est bon ça? Pratique un peu. Le tournesol, tu sais c'est quoi le tournesol?
La... Oui.
Sunflower.
Ouais.
Dis-le à ton patron, il y a bien des produits, il faut qu'il marque le français aussi, hein, parce que sinon l'office, il faut s'astiner avec ça. Là.
Ouais.
Ciao, ciao. That's what it is, man. Not bad. In Massachusetts, we got, and so I gotta get drilling with that. And I got some halva. I never got it with the peanuts, you know. It's been good. Well, it's a good affordable deal. You know that? I got dessert for tonight and for the weekend. I got basically dessert for 4 days for $14. I didn't overspend. I had exactly $16, but I bought a load. I bought a lot because I bought like 2 kilos, no, a kilo and something. See, so this is gonna last me a long time. See what I bought? So there's all halva. See, halva with chocolate. They all said chocolate, but not all of them has chocolate. The other one had peanuts. I thought I paused the video. What's going on? Is it paused now? Hold on. No, that's recording. See? So I got two ones were the same. It goes per weight. So it's $9.99. Tu as besoin d'un coup de main? You need some help?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Tell how he's holding that. That maybe he needed some, because he's going down there. Wasn't sure. He's just gonna help out if I could, you know. So see there, 450, 450, 285, 280. So that's 4 nights. So today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 4 nights if I do eat tonight, 1, you know. So that's good. 14 average. Look at this beautiful flower. Look at those. These are gorgeous, man. Nice. They're really nice. See? So that's, if we divide to have an average, then okay, so the average is, if we round it up to 15, the average is about 375, right? 375. It's about 380, the average for this one. 384. Don't ask me how I did that. So basically the average price for my dinner is 384, right? 384, because if you divide it by 4, it's gonna be 4 nights, right? Because it's 4 items. So that'll be today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, then Friday, then Saturday. So if the cost was, don't ask me how I did that without a calculator, because yes, Aspies were above average in math. above average in math. See? So basically all these added, the total is given there for 4 items. See? I got 4 items. Total came to 1485. 1485 is about 384 average divided by 4, right? Because of course 1465 divided by 4 is, right? To get to E. So we actually could do the exact math without estimation, right? If we could do the exact math without estimation, of course, without estimation, no? Without estimation. So 1485, that is of course, because if it's 16 divided by 4, that's 4. So we're missing $1.20, $1.15, because it's 1485, right? So $1.15 divided by 4, right, is about 30 cents. 30 cents. Let's say 28, right? So then we do that, 28 times 3, right? That's how we arrive about that. So it's about that, you know? Because 375 times 4, right, is 3 times 4 is 12, right? 3 times 4 is 12, right? 3 times 4 is 12. 75 times 4, right? 75 times 4 is 3, right? So it's actually less, right? It's actually less because we got 15 cents divided by 4, so it's about minus 3 cents, right? So basically that is, hello beauties. It's about 371 exactly. Hey, look at those. It's about 371 exactly. So the total cost is about $3.71, right? Because 371 times 4 is, you do 3 times 4, right? That's 12, and then 70 times 71 times 3, that's 274. So it's exactly 371, exactly about point less than a penny, but forget the penny because it's a 1 penny differential. So a 1 penny differential by 4 is 4/4 of a penny. So you can divide the penny, right? Mathematically you round it up. So you round it up to the closest number. So it'll be $3.71. $3.71. That's the number. $3.71. $3.71. $3.71. That's the amount, the average amount, because some two were $4.50 and the other ones were $2.80. So the average is $3.71. $3.71. That's what it is, you know. $3.71. Another beauty there. See the sun shining. $3.71, right? So $3.71 is my average cost for each of the four nights, because it's $14.85 divided by 4 for 4 products, which each product 1 product a night. Evening dessert for dinner basically comes out to about $3.71. $3.71, of course. Being that it is $3.71, of course, that is just the implementation where we is now, you know. So that is of course just the domain where we are. So of course all those characteristics are of course implementing that I love this building here, and of course the implementation of this building right here is a beauty. I still don't know if it's Ionic or Doric, you know, or Ionic or Doric. Look at that. Isn't it cute? This is non-potable water, and I wonder if this equipment was made in, oh, it's made in Phoenix, Arizona. See, this is an N.A.C.P trait. So this is a characteristic. It even says the date of manufacture. The date of manufacture is March 11, 2014. Isn't that cool? In Phoenix, Arizona, the United States. Quite nice. I'm always interested about little details like that. See, shell thickness. It gives you the shell thickness, the gallons, the capacity in gallons. 22. This is math. Now I love it. Now I'm in my domain, mathematics, or geopolitics, or rock and roll. So it says that it's made in Phoenix, Arizona. But the capacity is in gallons, though. That's why it's the US. See, quite nice. See, gallons. See. Anyways, see 314. 314. 314, see? Wow. 314. Well, actually, it's 31114, right? So that's, I guess, it's not November 3rd, though, right? It's the month, and is it the month first? That would be March 11, 2014. Or is it November 3rd, 2014, see? Because that's a 3 there. I wonder. No, I believe that's actually, is it a month or the month? Is it a month? Maybe it's the month, you know? I don't know. But it could be the day. So it's either November 2014 or March 2014. If it's March, it's March the 11th. And that was split it. If it's November, it was November 3rd. I love that building. So we know the year for sure, 2014. And we know in Phoenix, Arizona, and we know that the capacity is in gallons. So a gallon has 4 liters, right? So if it's 22, was it 1,000 or 100? No, it wasn't 22,000 for that. It was 2,200, right? Times 2, 2,200 times 4 actually, because it's times 4. Let's do it directly times 4 for 4, because 4 we can do it, we don't have to double it. 22 times 4 is 88, right? So it's 8,800 liters, right? Because 2,200 gallons, a gallon is 4 liters, so it's 8,800 liters because it's times 4. If a gallon has 4 liters, and if the capacity is, I love the sun, and the capacity is, I salute a little bit of that Pope, eh? My king, the sun in the back. So if the capacity is 2,200, times 4, that's 8,800, right? 8,800. 8,800. 8,800, man. I laugh because I myself sometimes, you know. I laugh at myself this time because I am not good at certain things, you know. I am just good at, we're not so good. Generally, aspies, you know. This neurodivergence can be very difficult, you know, for many. When we have to build bridges, because I might be good in that mathematically. I can calculate like that without a calculator, and I do calculations on the daily, you know. When I'm wired, I calculate, estimated calculation of cost of the gas, and other financial matters. I'm myself financially stressed, and I'm myself financially stressed. But of course, being that I am financially stressed is of course the proposition, of course, that we have, of course, to do, and of course, that is just the situation where we have now to be inside the awareness of my difference and differences that aspies we calculate. So of course the calculation, of course, that aspies have vis-a-vis, of course, non-aspies or neurotypicals is of course the difference. Is of course the difference, you know. Is of course the difference, you know. Is of course the difference, and that is of course the reality, of course, of where we have now in the appellation, of course, where we have to be doing on the circumspecial, of course, of the 24/7, yours truly, for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the electricians, the plumbers, and the welders, and all those, of course, involved in the production, distribution of food. You know, it's something which we have concomitantly the development thereof to be, you know, but nonetheless, it's other things I myself am very, very mediocre. I have difficulties. So now I'm going to give a little bit of discussion on Asperger's HFA, because that's why I was laughing kind of with myself. I said so much struggle and pain, because for years and years and years and years I've been diagnosed. Semi-officially, I'm part of the half of Aspies, people with autism, HFA, who are semi-officially diagnosed. You know. So being that I am semi-officially diagnosed, which we have, of course, now to be in the concomitant, of course, that the development of all these things which we have now, being that I am part of this tiny small fraction of the population of the community which lives with Asperger's, with this neurodivergence, which again, Asperger's and HFA, they're one and the same. 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 They are one and the same. They merged in 2013, 2014. Isn't this a beauty? I just love something about this custom, eh? Yeah, I love it. I love it. Custom about it. No, give us 300 like that. 300 for the dragon army. Paint them some red dragons on it with a rainbow flaming fire coming out of the red dragons, because we spit that fire, but I played that rainbow also, black, white, and rainbow. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Pledge your legions, or friends with benefits only. Gaia construction, I like that. Mother Nature goddess, the greatest artist. I'm gonna go check out those 4 pumpkins, other things. I don't really have to go check them out, but of course it's something which we have now to be concomitantly in, of course, the civilizational aspects of where we live now, of course, in all the domains. But I do not regret taking a turn here, because look at that beauty. Isn't that just gorgeous? So we're gonna get a little bit of that snake left and right, and yeah, 4 little ones there. Cute, 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of cute. And this are the children to beautiful flowers. Yeah, wow. These I wanted to see the twins. That is just nice there. See how nice that is, of course, in the concomitant where we have now to be, on the civilizational aspects where we are now, you know. All of these beautiful domains here, you know. 4 more. See, 4 there and 4 there. That's 4 plus 4, that's 8. So I was laughing earlier a priori, because I am different, and Asperger's and people with autism generally are on the spectrum like myself, because it's merged on the spectrum. We are different. Sometimes people can detect it right away, you know. It's even if we try to mask it, and Asperger's, you see right away even if we try to mask, right? You can try to mask, and it's an effort to build bridges, and we have to build bridges, because I don't have antagonistic, resentful, bad, negative, malicious feelings towards you, the 99% of the population, of which you are neurotypicals compared to us, neurodivergence. And Aspie population officially is about 0.44%. See, now I'm going down. When I went up, see, you go up down the mountain, because we are the Mountain Westmount. But see, there you can see the mountains far off there, and you can see the south of Montreal, Hawk Island here from atop the mountain Westmount, one of the 3 peaks of the mountain peak system. The whole mountain system is called Mount Royal. The headquarters of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is right between the east and the west. Here in Hawk Island, Montreal, right between the east and the west, but it's slightly south. My second home, where I love to go in the wilderness, get a little bit of relaxation. Get a little bit of that BDSM switch, which I love, by the way. You gotta be 18 for that. Gotta be 18 plus. Show me proof of ID, proof of age. Just like when you go, cannabis is legal here coast to coast. We legalized it in 2019. Cannabis is legal. Hashish also, and all that is legal. I bought 3.5 years ago. I still have leftovers. I don't consume much, and I don't know if prior to 2014 I did. I always say maybe prior to 2014 I did. Maybe I did, of course, prior to 2014. Maybe I did prior to, like, winterish 2014. Maybe I was consuming alcohol, and maybe I was an alcoholic. Look at this, children gonna love it. Maybe I was an alcoholic, you know. This one's also nice. Maybe I was an alcoholic, you know. Green Ripper coming for you. Maybe I was an alcoholic, maybe I was an alcoholic with that. And of course, those are the representations, of course, the representations and beginning, of course, to be now in all these things where we are to be alive. But of course, all of course to say is that I have trouble with memory. I have a very, very good memory of the past years. It's just my life prior to January, February, like winter 2014, it's like a blackout. Maybe because I don't know if I did drugs, if I was a junkie, if I was consuming drugs and whatever the case may be, if I was doing lots of drugs, if I was doing lots of that, whatever the case may be. Of course, if I was doing all that, whatever the case may be, it's something which we have, of course, to do, karmically, of course, to do, But maybe I was a junkie, maybe I was an alcoholic, maybe that vicious surprise attack which I survived. And I don't like violence. I do not like violence at all. I am hyper vigilant. I don't like violence at all. I am hyper vigilant, I don't like violence. I just am hyper vigilant and aggression, things of that nature, aggression and sexuality gotta be channeled, we gotta channel them, so we don't do violence. And I understand it's tough economic, financial times. Many of us, it's more than would like to admit, gonna cross fast the sun and just want to gaze at this beauty here. Thank you, public workers. This is a great garden. Good job. I just love those yellow flowers there, how they are atop and how they go all the way and how they get on building that drill on the side, So it's a beautiful sky now. So I don't like violence. I just sometimes memory comes back. I graduated high school. I have a high school diploma, and what's important is really my work, especially the artistic, rock and roll, dancing, choreography 24/7, and my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. The dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, basically my dream for fusion Canada, United States into the Imperial Democratic Republican complex. And hey, they added a little bit of those three there. See? Thank you, public workers. Nice, Nice symmetrical beautification. I really appreciate the beautification of the public sphere. See, even these little ones here on the side there, even these little ones there on the side, and of course here, this one is kind of simple, but it has a beauty, a symmetry between the rocks, how they're interposed like that. If you kind of stand in the middle, you kind of see that there's a certain coolness to them, at least for myself. Although I do prefer something more colorful and flowery for sure, but that's also something which has labor and work as well. So we gotta appreciate that as well. So I have 4 things to do before October 31st and on October 31st, and now we're gonna discuss Asperger's autism, which is the neurological mental divergent condition with which I live with, and which of course cannot be medicated. You cannot medicate it. It's something which cannot be medicated because it's not a disease. That's where we have to commence and draw the line, and of course interpose and digest and say, of course, that it is not a disease. It is not a disease. It is not a disease. That's where we have to counterpoise. It's not a disease. So being that it's not a disease, we have to know what it is and what is not. So since it's not a disease that can be cured, because we don't have really symptoms, disorder, we are in certain things, we are less able. I'm gonna say, hey, look at that, beautiful. In certain things, of course, we are less able. We are less able in certain things, right? So we are less able in certain things. We are less able in certain things. We are less able in certain things, but it's not a disease, and there's no, so you cannot, I'm gonna go parallel to the other street. You say, oh, this is a beautiful colors here. We're gonna go by the other side. So of course, it's not something which necessarily has a cure, and that you can cure. What we have to do as species is manage the characteristics. So the characteristics have to be managed, right? The characteristics and the traits vis-a-vis when we interact with neurotypicals have to be managed. right? So that we can build bridges, whether we build small, medium size, extra large, or large. Whether we build small, medium, large, or extra large. Within those 4 categories of small, medium, large, or extra large, small, medium, large, or extra large, we have to build different bridges. You know, we have to build bridges, different bridges. We have to build different bridges. Different bridges. We have to build bridges. Look at that. Kids are gonna love it. I love it. Coming out of the ground, man. So we have to build bridges. Whether we build, of course, small bridges, medium-sized bridges, large bridges, extra large bridges. Look at those beauties. Look at those beauties. Quite beautiful, isn't it? Quite beautiful. Quite beautiful there, eh? Nice. Turn your heads left and right before you cross the street, and here we're gonna go all the way up like that towards the sun. See if we can get a little bit of the sunshine. It's nice, eh? Hey, beautiful black squirrel, you eating more 'cause the winter coming, aren't you? And the other one looking over you. White and the black squirrel, sharing a little bit of good candy. Well, yeah, that's what we gotta do, man. Black, white, and rainbow. Sharing more. The only thing I got to share, I guess, is rock and roll, sports, fitness, and hugs, and trillions of kisses, I gotta say, hey. First kingdom, the dragon and the dancing goddess, vice versa, dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom are one. The first kingdom to be founded with 718 trillions of kisses. And here I love how it's 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, and on the other side 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. See there, the garden. So hey, there's the twin of the other one, and coming out for vengeance or justice, I guess. Sometimes it's a little bit of each is the same, eh? But back to Asperger's. So we have to build these bridges, you know, small, medium, large, extra large. Just like when you buy a small coffee, pizza, coffee, or what else? Fries, right? Look at these. Hey, these are really nice. I love how the multicolor, 4 different colors there. They're so beautiful and so thick, eh? There's this thickness to them. Quite nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. There's the thickness. So whether you or I or somebody else orders, let's say, a pizza to eat, or coffee to drink, or fries to eat, or coffee to drink, you might order a small coffee, fry, or pizza, medium coffee, fry, or pizza, large fry, pizza or coffee, or an extra large, medium, large, extra large, small, medium, large, or extra large. Within those 4 categories, that's exactly the 4 categories which we have, of course, to build bridges with. So within those categories, those are the 4 categories, of course, when you are to order, whether you order coffee, fries, pizza, right, or coffee or pizza or fries, pretty much is small size, medium size, large size, extra large, you know. Within those 4 categories, that's what you might order, right? So that is just exactly the same principle of the bridges that we have to build together. Think public workers. So of course, all that principle that you have to build bridges, of course, in the building of the bridges where we are now to be building. So those are just the components of the bridges where we have to build, you know. Those are just the components of the bridges where we have to build now. So of course it's small, medium, extra large, small, medium, larger, extra large, within those 4 categories, right? You might order a small coffee or fry or pizza, or a medium sized pizza, coffee or fry, a large pizza, coffee or fry, or even an extra large pizza, coffee or fries, right? Such the buildings, the bridges, which we Aspies, neurodivergents, have to build, which you neurotypicals are, depending on the individual Aspie vis-a-vis the individual neurodivergent or the neurotypical. That is, and that those are just the different bridges which we have to be building within ourselves and with others. Because again, I have no antagonistic, negative, malicious feelings versus the neurotypicals, versus the neurotypicals. But those bridges have to be built, right? And it requires some Aspies and people with HFA more than others require more understanding than others. Some more support than others. I require very minimal support, but it's not really support, it's more understanding that these traits, characteristics we have to manage. These traits, characteristics can be echolalia, can be, of course, repetition of word sentences, can be, of course, things of not understanding social cues. Since, of course, in the job, it has to be more explained more properly and directly, of course, of our special interests, which preoccupy, of course, our daily routines and habits and rituals, which preoccupy our routines, habits, and rituals are, of course, on a daily basis occurring. So, of course, because they are occurring on a daily basis, sometimes we might have those impediments in other things of civilization and nature. In other things of civilization and nature, we might be we have that impediments, right, of all civilization and nature. Of civilization and nature, eh? Yeah, that's a great day. Of civilization and nature. So the counterpoise is that we're individuals within the Aspie community. You also are individuals. So some individuals within the neurotypical community might not know, of course, where we are. Yeah. Well, we are now, of course, right? Some individuals in the Aspie community might not, of course, know, of course, where they are, of course, in the situational awareness. So might not know, or might know more than others, how to build these bridges because they have certain experience, such as myself. For years and years and years and years and years, I've been told and semi-officially diagnosed, by my anonymous friend, of course, and semi-officially diagnosed, semi-officially diagnosed by my anonymous friend, by semi-officially diagnosed by several individuals and citizens, of course, by several individuals and citizens, by several individuals, of course, citizens. Beautiful yellow. But if it took me years and years and years and years to accept it, because it was still a stigma, I even remember a few years ago, and I had many jobs myself. It's just that for people with Asperger's, it's a problem to maintain jobs and maintain employment. Problem, of course, to maintain jobs and maintain employment. Long term, long-term jobs and employment is more problematic. Maintain long-term jobs and employment is more problematic, right? Maintain jobs long-term is more problematic, right? It's more problematic. It's more problematic. It's more problematic. Long-term employment, that is a problem. So I remember years and years ago when I had many jobs during COVID, and somebody was saying, that's a disease, in French, and was whispering in French, kind of, let that be, because that's a disease, or be something like that. No, it's not a disease, you know. It's not a disease. And we are less able in certain things. You have less capabilities. Just gonna cross the street, turn your heads left and right. We have less capabilities. We're less able in certain things than in others. Yeah, look at that. So we are less able in things of a societal nature, social interactions can be more awkward, weird, and strange, you know, for us Aspies. The dynamics, understanding non-written social rules, and sometimes explanations in the workplace have to be more clear and precise, because we can be, you know, we can get confused and don't really understand things and have a trouble with things of socializing in a way that should socialize in a way that's very different from neurotypicals. Usually our topics of discussion revolve around our topics of interest, and of course me, it's rock and roll, sports and fitness and geopolitics, you know. So I might involve myself in geopolitics, sports and fitness, and dancing, of course. So of course that is the dancing, of course, composition of the matters what we have now to be. But the point is, or the major point is, that there must be an understanding, mutual understanding, right? Because we have to work together. And for my community, that considering we're a tiny small fraction of the population, Illinois, what's up in the 50 states, LOV, Illinois, LOV, Illinois, LOV. How far is Illinois from here? Well, it's near the Great Lakes, depending what city though, eh? A few 100 kilometers, miles. And this, I gotta say, I love it. Every year, this is like the 4th or the 5th year in a row, they have the most pumpkins. And if you see, there are even small pumpkins. See the small ones there? The tiny ones? It goes all the way up. It goes like a snake. It goes like a snake, see? It goes like a snake all the way up. See? It's like 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one kind of is there, and then get inside, chuck, see? It's all the way up. That's quite a feast. Imagine we could do some cooking with these, eh? Love it. And there's the, I guess, triplets now. Got a little beautiful garden here, and I'm gonna cross to say hello to my snake. The snake here, see? See? Snake. Like with a head. They didn't cut off the snake's head, so the snake's head is right there in the cluster. It's coiled about the spring. That's how it got clustered there. Isn't it amazing? Mother Nature, the greatest scientist and artist. I wish I could give my anonymous friend a house. If I make a million a bin a tree, I'm gonna give 50%. And 4 times in the past 4 months, you can see when I go by the river. Maybe gonna go tomorrow, see if it's still for sale by the river. The house which has weeping willows. It has weeping willows, and it's right by the river. I wish I could give for my anonymous friend, you know. She would love that there on the island, and that would be really nice, you know. That would be really nice to have, and that is just something which we have to be understanding about in all the propositions where we are now to be, in the left and the right, and aspects, of course, of the civilizational aspects where we live. I guess there's some voting district. Gotta check out how those districts are set up, I guess, in Westmount. When I say district, it makes me think about the Hunger Games. We're gonna fuse Canada, United States my way, just to finalize our way. Family Dragonomy way. Beautiful sky, eh? It's gonna get maybe some sun up in there. So I'm gonna get that drilled. And of course, Asperger's is not an illness. It's not a disease. The problem is we do have these odd, weird characteristics and traits, sometimes even, you know, personal space, right? We tend to get so close in conversation to citizens. Beautiful garden. So close in conversation. 4 inches close instead of the 4 yards, right? The personal space. I'm making a reference to personal space. So I always have to work on it. I gotta give a thanks again to my anonymous friend for gifting me 2 books. 2 books on autism, general autism. And they include several chapters on Asperger's or high functioning autism, because they are different levels of autism, right? Different autistic levels. And mine is Asperger's, which is now known as, of course, also as high functioning autism, because I am high functioning. I don't require lots of support. And no, not all Aspies are good at computer science, by the way. Yes, there's a disproportionate number of Aspies who are good at computer science. There's a disproportionate amount of Aspies who are good at computer science. But not all Aspies, of course, are good at computer science. Not all Aspies are good at computer science. Not all Aspies are good at computer science. Not all Aspies. 20%, but that's the ratio, because for you, the 99%ers of the population who are neurotypicals, the percentage is about 1%, between 1 and 4%. I love this one as well. Super nice. Love it. So there's a disproportionate amount, about 11 times. But again, it's 20%, 1 out of 5. But we have an above average. Oh, this is nice also for Halloween. Children are going to love it. So there's a disproportionate amount. Right? There's a disproportionate amount. The representational percentage of Aspies who are good at computer science is overrepresented of those who are good at computer science. However, it's 20%, right? It's 1 out of 5. So not all Aspies are good at computer science. Good disproportionate amount compared, of course, to the neurotypicals. 20%, which is more. Because for your population, you who are the neurotypicals, the vast majority of the population, the 99% of the population, you are neurotypicals. For your population, it's about 1 to 4%. So there is a disproportionate representation if we are to consider that we're a small, tiny minority of less than 1%. And only half, 50% circa, about approximately 50% are officially diagnosed. So within that population, there is different levels of statistics. Now, for that population, a representation is, of course, the representation where we, of course, have to be. Wow, look at that. Purple. Love it. Purple. That is, of course, the proportional representation, of course, of what we have, of course, to be now in the circumstantial preposition where we are. The domain, of course, now. Look at that. Because Dracula had a wife, eh? They have a child. Dracula had a wife. They made a child. Dracula had a wife, made a child there. See how nice it is? See Dracula? That's nice, Dracula there. See Dracula, the wife and the children. I don't like saying Dracula much because I get triggered. I get past life information regressions, and I was under the command of the real deal Dracula, Vlad the Impaler of Prince of Transylvania, and that reincarnation is, maybe that's why I lost my memory prior to winterish 2014, to make space for past life regressive memories, regressions. You gotta read George Patton's Through a Glass Darkly. George Patton, Through a Glass Darkly, is one of my favorite poems of all time. It's called Through a Glass Darkly. There George Patton states his belief in reincarnation, so he also believed all in reincarnations, although George Patton doesn't mention that he was my wife in a past life. I was his wife, he was my wife. So once in a past life, about 2,600 years ago, I was his wife, and once he was my wife. So we were husband and wife and husband, here in different past lives, different incarnations across the nations, as I ascend now Westmount and go to the main peak, Mount Royal. So here we are, of course, now into the representational capabilities of which we are now, the domain and the fact that I am joyous. Was a bit moody earlier, maybe a bit. Still wish I crave a massage therapy session, but you know what, billionaires, don't be so selfish. Give the public workers a massage therapy session. Give the public workers a massage therapy session, of course. You gotta give them a massage therapy session. Better to give them a massage therapy session instead, of course, of the concomitant representation, of course, of where we are now, to be, and to be aware, of course, of all these representational dynamics, and I'll give it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, give them, finance them, you know, a good massage therapy session, and that would be nice, you know. That would be nice, of course, to be in the constituencies of loving, you know. I just saw somebody get, that's why I gotta be joyous, you know, as I saw somebody, you know, hugging and kissing, of course, before, and flowers, and I am financially stressed, but hey, no, I have scars and survived being viciously attacked by surprise. I guess they tried to take me out, and survived COVID in 2020, February, March 2020. Thought I was gonna die. I have many work experiences, including with my senior citizens, the elderly, the senior citizens, and steel, that's, and the whispers were, that's a disease, and no, it's not a disease. My androgyny, well, being 50-50, I'm androgynous, well, being pansexual androgynous, and that's, I've been in the open for years and years and years and years, you know. That's not something which I hide or anything like that. And that's just Adrian Hanna Dragon rebirthing during COVID, as well as laying the foundations for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom with 718 trillions of kisses. And those trillions of kisses, of course, have been the dynamic, of course, of the representation where we are now, to be, of course, circummitting, of course, where we are, to be involved within all the domains that we have, the construction workers who build these skyscrapers, beautiful skyscrapers, which of course are, of course, to be built and to be constructed and still being built today. And gotta salute the firefighters, gotta be thinking about the nurses who just finished in 12-hour shift, eh? Well, was I moody for a nurse? She deserves a massage therapy session. And you know, the plumbers, like those who pick up the garbage. That's why my dream is fundamentally a public-private partnership. I'm mostly concerned about the work, you know. My work for a North American collective, Civilisation collective, as I was born in the United States 3 times, post 76, once as a man, once as a woman. And so I'm going to wrap it up on Asperger's. The neurological condition with which I live with is, of course, not a disease, not a mental illness, and we have to work on those characteristics. So those characteristics, of course, can be quite strange and odd and bizarre and weird, but they're not evil, bad, malicious, or negative. So now we have, of course, to co-represent, co-equally, be co-representative about those dynamics. And of course, what is it specifically that we have to get involved in? All the building of the bridges, and of course all those circumstantial positions where we are now to be living in. And of course the fact, of course, that we are correlative, of course, for the domain where we are to live in, the domain where we got the neurodivergence, us, minority of Aspies, and you, neurotypicals, with which we have to build bridges. So the 4 main problems which Aspies encounter are, of course, the lack of friends, and my lack of friends. There's a solution for me. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Friends with benefits only. There's the mountain, and there's the mountain, and of course that's where we gotta get drilled on that, and we gotta get that mountain atop headquarters. And here it is, friends with benefits only, you know. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. That is it. Categorically, of course, for the counterposition where we have now, you know. Friends with benefits only, don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Or pledge your allegiance, our family. And that is just something which we have, of course, to be. And of course, the other relations, the other fact is that we have a very high suicidal and depression rates. Very high. I was depressed, I was suicidal. Beautiful garden here. Thank you, public workers. Public workers. Love it. Depressed and suicidal. What got me out of being depressed is crossing Canada coast to coast in 2017. Look at those beautiful skyscrapers there. That's downtown core Montreal. What got me out of depression was crossing Canada coast to coast. In 2017, in August, with my anonymous friend, went in Vancouver, BC, and then we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And of course, by train to Halifax, Nova Scotia in September 2017, I got the tickets. And by bus from Montreal to Vancouver in 2017, in August 2017, by bus and by train. So that summer 2017 was when I got out of being depressed and suicidal. So crossing Canada coast to coast got me out of being depressed or suicidal, and ever since then, you know, I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and our family, my brothers and sisters in the 50 states as well. And ever since then, I've been on that fitness journey. Look at that beautiful sunset. Sun is always rising and sunsets every second, just like geopolitics. The sun never sleeps, just like money. Three things never sleep, I guess: money, the sun, and geopolitics. Because now the sun is rising somewhere else, over Asia. I gotta be that counterpoised and gotta get that meditation. And after this video, remember, I have to go back to my headquarters. So we add some hours. We accumulate. Yesterday did more than 4. Today I'm not planning to do more than 5. I'm not planning to do more than 5. More than 5. Between 4:30 and 6. 4:30 minimum. 6 max. Because gotta get that rest, you know. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm an independent athlete, and I have the 4-year $180 million contract, $44 million a year. Give some charity. Not just the players though, the owners. Owners got to reduce those tickets for the NFL and National Football League, the NHL, National Hockey League, and National Basketball Association, MLB. And please, also, if I would be able to afford it, I would get each and every ticket, first and foremost, for the Women's Professional Hockey League. They're as good as the men, you know, they're so good. And now there's 2 teams getting expanded, plus those 6, so that's going to be 8. And of course, Montreal Victoire, you know. So that is, of course, just something which we have to be compromised about. So that is just something where we have, of course, to be now. And of course, all those consequences, of course, of where we have, of course, now to be in the complementarity, of course, of all those dynamics is, of course, something which we have to be concomitantly about, to be on the levels of the situational awareness of all the food delivery. Thank you for delivering the food, workers, black, white, or rainbow. And always got to rock and roll for the fast food workers, those flipping some burgers, some cheeseburgers now, you know, flipping some burgers, some cheeseburgers, you know. It's always on the drill, and always got to get a little bit of that, you know. Sometimes that's just what you got to do, you know. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to drill it in and make sure you got to drill it out, you know. Make sure you drill it in and make sure you drill it out, you know. So that is just what we're gonna do together. And gotta salute the nurses, you know. Gotta salute the nurses finishing their 11-hour shift. They got 1 more hour to go to get on those 12, you know. So that I gotta salute to myself. It's some things which we have to be, you know, counterpoised about, and all the relationships where we are now, the dynamics and the levels, of course, of the construction workers to get in on those constructions, and all the firefighters, plumbers, electricians, somebody getting a little bit of that rock and roll there below. Maybe they are, I'm not sure what they're doing there, but maybe they're doing something like that. Again, one's recycling, one's garbage. One's recycling and one's garbage though, eh? See, this one's recycling, see? That one's recycling, so you're not supposed to mix. You're not supposed to mix. See, that one's supposed to be just recycling. Thanks. That one's recycling. That one's recycling. So don't mix, eh? Don't mix. Be careful about that. Don't mix it. Don't mix it. I found a lot of... We have to do the individual part of ourselves, you know. We have to really do the individual part. And if we don't do the individual part, then we cannot correlate everything to the collective. Let me get that mane out. Ah, my mistress. The forest on the mountain. When I reach on the beach. I'm not on the beach, I'm on the mountain, but I sing that rock and roll, you know. If you're on the beach somewhere, you might be. You might be, you know. I feel happy, joyous now. financially stressed but joyous, you know. It is a day. It's a day, and you gotta be watching it for the branches here, you know. Sometimes the branches fall, so we gotta watch for those hawks. Gotta watch for the branches, and guess I'm gonna let my mane out a little bit. Auctioning my hair, I guess it's gonna go a little bit on that coming of the winter, so not that much. You got those workers, public workers, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, the nurses waiting 1 more hour to finish their shift, to finish their shift, you know, finish their shift, and that's all we got. And finishing their shift there, that's something which we have to be proponent about and propositioned about. And let me see, it seems to be closed here. Is it closed? No, it's the other way. It's the other way. It's the other way. See, up. That's closed. I guess so. Oh, you can see a little bit of the sun. A little bit of the sun. The sun is shining, sun is setting, and that's what it is now. And that's what you gotta get drilling, man. And just finalizing on Asperger's before I go hit it up in my geopolitics, you know. Just we got those 4 problems, and lack of employment, or not that we don't get employment. The problem is for Aspies is maintaining, you know. Maintaining long-term employment can be problematic for people with Asperger's. So long-term employment, maintaining it, keeping it, because myself, I had many jobs over the past years. It's just keeping them, maintaining them, right? Maintaining them. Because of my level of autism, HFA, high functioning autism, and Asperger's. Look at that beautiful city. It can be difficult for me sometimes. We don't have that filter, you know, that is required, and it can, without even knowing, we might offend, cause some trouble without knowing the social dynamics. It's not because we mean to, it's because we see the world differently. Our perception and the way we perceive and information can be different, but we have our strengths. We're above average in mathematics, and we have our strengths in our special interests. Look at that beautiful, see the bridge there? See, that's the bridge. That's the Champlain Bridge, and you see how the big river surrounds it, Hakala Montreal, the river of the snake. And you can see my favorite skyscraper there. That's where's the pyramid at? Let's see. We gotta see it by the side, so we're gonna see it from here then. Yeah, the pyramid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right there through the middle. You see the pyramid, my favorite skyscraper, the pyramid. My favorite skyscraper, the pyramid, there it is. The pyramid, see? That's my favorite skyscraper, the pyramid, and that's where we're gonna rock and roll. So we're gonna go cross all the way to the other side and just drill it back home. So those are, after that, going atop and then drill it back home. And then drill it back home. So those are the problems for Aspies. Lack of friends. That's why my solution is friends with benefits only. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. And of course, the other problem is lack of friends, and of course, the high unemployment levels. Extremely high. It's very high. Sometimes it's more than 80%, 85%. Sometimes, can you imagine 4 out of 5? It's 11 times more than for you, the neurotypicals. High depression and suicidal rates. I was depressed for about almost 3 years, from like summer 2014, end of 2014, till about summer 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that kind of made me have a revelation. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, and I crossed Canada coast to coast, and having that I crossed Canada coast to coast, that made me come out of being depressed and suicidal, you know, and that was just what it is now. Beauty of the autumn, you know, the beauty of the autumn here. So of course, that's where we have to be here in the correlative aspects. And the other dimension is, of course, the high suicidal rates. Also, high dropout rates. I have a high school diploma, so I graduated high school. I went to some college, I dropped out of college. But of course, sometimes for even secondary and post-secondary or higher learning, but even for high school, there's a high dropout rate for Aspies on people with Asperger's and autism generally. It's a very higher. It's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 times higher than you for neurotypical. So also the depression rate and keeping friends. So those are the problems, and I have the solutions. I don't require much help. My friends with benefits will be good, and my only stress now is economic, money, monetary, financial. But friends with benefits don't waste my time. What for? You're black, white, or rainbow. We can put on the table, negotiate, and just text call for exchanging of services. 18 plus for that one, baby. Don't waste my time, please. I won't waste yours, right? So of course, that's the love with that, or pledge your allegiance to our family, and that's the other love. And you know, if I can be of service of any kind to my allies and armies, and pledge your allegiance, even on that 18 plus, I'm androgynous, pansexual, a priestess of the goddess. So I was the priestess, Pitya, who orated the great Ratria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess, Pitya, who orated the great Ratria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess, Pitya, who orated the great Ratria to Lycurgus, you know. I was the priestess, Pitya, who orated the great Ratria to Lycurgus. So I'm priestess son of our kingdom empire. Always for the 63 now, let it rise and let it be. Of course, all those dynamics where we are now in the circumposition, of course, of a being, of course, now in those left and right domains, we have to manifest our life-affirming manners to be circumposed and to declare that I call all to on the 24th and 25th for the Trump County Dragon Zero World Peace Summit here for the establishment thereof, and pledge your allegiance to our family. And that's how we gotta get on that drill, you know, to be loving and to be mindful, of course, of all those dynamics where we are world community, loving, understanding, free with some justice. And I'm not perfect, far from it. I got flaws and scars and trauma, you know, but I live where I live now for the past years, and all those, of course, concomitantly to be and to say and to be proposed and to manifest and to watch it, because I got that slippery, you know. So that's what it is with that, and that's what we gotta get doing now, you know, is all the civilizational domains we got now to be in all the life affirming manners where we are now to be life affirming, and of course life embracing, and all the pain, the suffering, the struggle, I guess, with some purpose to it. And I gotta say I'm joyous, and bury me Papa Crowley in Hamden, New Jersey, or right here at Montreal, here. At Montreal. At Montreal. At the Mount Royal. That's where we are now, you know, in the my second home. Saw somebody loving, hugging, hug like you never hugged before, you know. HUG. Hug like you never hugged before. Hug for me as well, you know. Never gonna say no to a hug, massages, and got those trillions of kisses, which I'm laying the foundation for the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom. I see that beautiful sunset. The sun always shines always shines, always shines, always rises. And of course I gotta be grateful, you know, because my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got paid my Netflix, one more bill to pay, the fourth and final bill, which is gonna have to be my phone bill, so gotta get that bill paid, you know. Here's my second home, all royal. If you come here, don't pollute and watch for the branches. They're sometimes fall. I pick them up myself and I even have it on camera. Several years, you see those big branches there, they fall, see. So sometimes I have it even on camera. See the branch going down, and sometimes they fall right here from above. So I gotta watch it for that. So pledge your allegiance to our family. We're gonna enter now. Switch to geopolitics. So of course in 2019 is gonna be 6 years. October 17th, of course, I have predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration, and of course the international conflagration which I predicted was of course directly related to what's happening now in a parallel similar manner. So being that the special interest which I have includes geopolitics, the study thereof for years and years and years and years, what I do is every day for hours, sometimes I lose myself, so many hours I do interpretation of course different politicians, news across the world, sometimes Canadian, Quebec news from Montreal, and United States, primarily North American, then of course from Europe, from beyond the world is one news, and China, Taiwan, to get different left and right and centrist, and from a multinational global perspective, because geopolitics is a universal international global affair, although we have localized geopolitical issues which reverberate on a regional or global scale, and then we have those discernments which we have to do on internal domestic affair and foreign affairs. So I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. In 2019, 17th of October to be specific, precise, I put the first video, so I have proof for what I say. I had posted the first video relating of course to my analysis, my prediction that humanity is again set towards an international conflagration. You heard that right. And I also created a workout training program system which I created back then, of which myself have performed more than 372 sessions thereof. It's officially titled the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, which requires no equipment, and of course which is not meant for necessarily aesthetic development, muscle aesthetic development, but it is made of course for increasing general overall fitness. So what my workout training program does, it increases general overall fitness. So what it does, basically it increases general overall fitness. So that is just the domain of course of where we are now, composition of course counterpoise of us to be in this level of analysis which is already 6 years in, and I guess some say World War III has started, or that of course World War III is about to start, or that it was possibly averted, as of course my theories for world peace and averting Armageddon are via my DRT, the Death Fusion theory. However, it seems that even now with the Israel-Hamas-Palestine, there seems that this morning I saw that there's a potential ceasefire breach violation. So we're gonna see where that is going with that. When I go back home, I'm gonna do what I did this morning, which is the study, the analysis of geopolitics. So that of course has to reverberate consequently, and of course internally in all the other domains where we are interjected and intersected, of course, for us to be in the relationships thereof, where we have now the domains of course of all the exploitative manners where we live now with this our own coast to coast, ocean to ocean economic financial crisis, where the cost of living, the rents, and the growing food bank use, and all the problems we have in Canada is unprecedented, and it's quite alarming. More and more videos I've been seeing in the past days, weeks, and months, that it's quite alarming how it has just the food bank increase, how it's skyrocketed since 2019. And the increasing homelessness, and maybe I would have been dead if I wouldn't have moved. And I used to live in a very moldy place, a small, tight, moldy place. I didn't even have a bathtub. I'm glad I have a bathtub now. I'm gonna try to put it to good use tomorrow, that bathtub, and immerse and take a bath, and of course consequentially of course take a bath with that. So that is just something what we have to be exponential about. So of course that little dog coming, it's gonna run, check a little bit of that. So of course all that reverberations is to say that I used to live in a very moldy place, very small and moldy place. I didn't even have a bathtub there, and of course it was a small moldy place, and I didn't even have a kitchen. The kitchen was in the room. My stovetop was in the room, in my room. So I didn't have an official kitchen. It was integrated with, of course, where I lived, in the room where I slept or where I watched TV. Very small. It was like a tight prison cell. I always say it was like a tight prison cell. And as you can check, I guess I served my time, and maybe I served my time in order to save somebody else's, of course, from being, of course, concomitantly involved with that, you know. So of course that is just the domain and the appellatives. Hey, look at his beauty, see? So nice, look at it. Multicolors there, see? So nice. So that is just whatever the flowers are, you know, to get it left or right in the levels of the domain what we have now, to be internal and integrated in all the aspects now, to be the civilizational prudence of all the flora and the faunas. My mistress sometimes fears here on the mountains, integrated relations which we have with her, with certain reciprocal conditions and certain reciprocities which we have to observe. So yeah, now the statement that I will make, you have to quote it in a yes, 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 because you know that since August 1st, you know, Canada were designated vis-a-vis the United States, you know, we were designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat, you know. We're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat by the United States, you know. We're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat, you know. So of course the fact that we're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat, of course, is the domain where we have now to live, of course, of all the civilizational complexes where we are now to be, in the domains where we got that, of course, the appellation where we got now to be involved with simultaneously and in a parallel manner, to be, of course, leveled on the same level playing field, that we have to build these bridges, and we have to build these bridges via love and understanding. And of course we have, of course, those dynamics which are more difficult sometimes to build the bridges with certain individuals than with others. However, it can be easier for others than for some, and those are just something which you have to be doing, of course, now in the circumstantial proposition and appellation where we live now. So that is just the domain appellative, in regardless to the parallel domain where we got now to be relegated off with, and without being too super intellectual about it. It's something which we have to be concomitant in the situational aspects where we are now, and sing a little bit of that quiet song, you know, to be rock and roll with. And those are just the domains, and sometimes we gotta be doing it, you know. Here we are, top of the mountain. Here we are. 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 What do you think I got? Oh. Welcome, whiteboard, more machines, rations, rations, satellites, welcome. Big digs. And whiteboard. Whiteboard.
the rice police, curfew. They know I'll shoot you. Almost see, no, I see. So militarized police. To the new world order. Those are big dicks. Patrolling the streets. Welcome to the new world order. Oh my, those are big dicks. Big tanks and those are big dicks. All your machines. And that's my boys ready to put you in the Nevada desert. Apartment on the wall. Motherfucker. Take a dump on them. On the wall. Shit up. Have an abortion. I should have had an abortion. I had an abortion. För den har varit där med. Should have had an abortion. Is that song like most? Your mother should have died. Here it is, Hawk Island, Montreal. 50 states. We gotta get rid of that border ASAP. Get rid of the border. Tak, mediocre claps. Mediocre applauses. Mediocre. My God. Amelia, white boy will be big. Look at that on this shit. Fighting police. Bottom of the wall. Motherfucker. That's a rock and roll songs right there, man. Rock and roll. Rock and roll. For the 50 states, sing a little bit of that cadence. And across the top. And I'm gonna go by the side and continue discussing. So now what we have, of course, to get straight. All we have to get straight is, of course, all we have to. So what we have to consequently fully understand is that we have, of course, to have the best relations with the United States as Canadians, you know. Because the king is absent. We should have been a republic, of course, on the 1st of January. The 31st, of course, of December, we should have transformed and got it on the 1st already with that. Of course, all the consequential, of course, appellation what we have now, of course, in the concomitant development, of course, to be now in all the relationship where we are now to be. So, of course, all those dynamics which we have now are, of course, all the civilizational complexes where we have, of course, to be now over the ideation, of course, what we got now. So all, of course, the dynamics what we have now are, of course, just to simplify, of course, the matters what we have now, to be co-equivalent, of course, co-dependent, of course, in the informational awareness, you know. So all that to say, of course, what we have now, that we have to establish to have the best economic, social relations with the United States. So now, because we're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat, we have to remedy that as soon as possible, because, of course, There's the validity of the growing transnational criminal syndicates organized group, as we were warned by the RCMP circa 2015 started. And last year, what happened on the 25th of October, of course, the RCMP dismantled the biggest ever drug super lab, dismantled the biggest ever drug super lab in the history of Canada, dismantled the biggest ever drug super lab in the history of Canada, right? That's what occurred, and that's what happened last year. Last year, of course, dismantled the biggest super lab in the history of Canada, So all that appellation is to say now, in the concomitant, of course, representational awareness, of course, of the multiplexes domain, of course, of all the strategical advancement, where we have to mutually be mutually beneficial. That, of course, last year on the 25th of October, the big problem was that, and I guess a big problem for the transnational criminal syndicate organized groups, not for us, because good job to the RCMP, good job. The RCMP, good job to the RCMP, good job. The RCMP, they dismantled the biggest ever drug super lab in the history of Canada, hey? In Surrey, BC. So what if that transnational criminal syndicate organized group had 5 labs? That means there's 4 to go. And it had, of course, 95 million doses of fentanyl, which could have potentially killed the population of Canada twice over. Imagine just one super lab. So what if that super lab was financed by antagonistic foreign powers? See where it got us? The United States designates us as an unusual and extraordinary threat. And our main interest, when it comes to placing a hierarchical position of main interest, we have to work to establish the best economic, social, financial relations with the United States first and foremost. That's just like the pi symbol, which is a constant mathematical representation of the circle. Of course, the circle, the representation between the circumference and the circle is always 3.1516, right? It's always the same. 3.1415, it's a pi. It's not a pi edible pi, it's a pi is an N. The letter N for normal, natural, neurodivergent, neurotypical, neutral. The N, the pi symbol is an N with 2 heads, 2 faces. That's why coming of our empire of the 63, where we're going to fuse Canada and United States into the Imperial Democratic Republic, is going to be 2-headed, 2-faced. One for punishment and severity and punishment and justice. The other one is going to be for goodness and kindness and loving and liberty. So I just want to come a little bit here to show my favorite skyscraper there. There's a pyramid. See, I love that pyramid there. And see here, all the electricity is zero pollution, zero energy pollution. It does not consume any. It does not pollute, actually. So all this electricity, all the way to six states, sorry, it also is clean, zero pollution. It does not pollute. So that skyscraper there that you see right in the middle of the camera is actually my favorite skyscraper. That is the pyramid. So we're just gonna sing some rock and roll for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and the butchers and the bakers. And we're gonna, of course, eject and go back, of course, into the forest. And we're gonna head back to my headquarters because I'm actually getting a little bit on the hug me side. So that is, of course, Hawk Island, Montreal, beautiful Montreal, Hawk Island. Here you can see the river. Now the camera is actually pointing south. The direction is south. So I'm looking from the north-south basically, and this mountain is right between the east and the west. Right between the east and the west, concomitantly where we have now to be on the establishment thereof of the headquarters of the 63. We got to get rid of that border and, of course, implement the DRT, debt refusion theory, of course, for the creation of the U in the CIT, citizen integration theory, parallel, of course, to the 911 new Dragon Army protocol for total security, service, and defense, and all, of course, of the incorporations, of course, of the state of projects where we must be ASAP to do. So now I'm gonna say salute. I'm gonna go back into the forest. We're gonna head up east-west. Basically, we're going not east-west necessarily straight line, but we're gonna go in a way now we're moving west, slightly curved, if I am to give a direction, because I'm gonna have to head west to get back home from the mountain, the top of the mountain where we were just now. So of course our main of course interest is to have the best economic, social, financial relations with the United States. That is just like the pi symbol, you know, just like the pi symbol, of course, just like the pi symbol has that 2-headed, 2-faced. Then so will our empire be. One for goodness and kindness, benevolence. The other one, of course, for goodness and kindness. The other one, of course, for multitude, of course, where we have, of course, to be in the dynamic dynamics, of course, of all the generalship, of course, of the conjugal relation where priestess gonna lay those 718 trillions of kisses, and me, dragon, which is me and the same, priestess Hana as I, dragon zero as these marching steps and those kisses, back to geopolitics. We must, as Canadians, and the United States vis-a-vis us, you vis-a-vis us, you have to work to have the best, we must work to establish the best economic, social, financial relations with each other. There's no other way. We have to work to be establishing the best economic, social, financial, military relations with each other. There's no nowhere, and there's no maybe to that. There's only yes, 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 yes. You cannot negotiate with that. It's not abstract, it's real, tangible. When it comes to foreign affairs, not domestic affairs, in reciprocity, our main interest is to build the best economic, social, financial, military, defense relations with each other. And then with other countries. That's just because of the social, cultural, and the history, common past history, and because of our geographical realities. Although, of course, the United States, you have because of the United States, you might have, of course, you have a border with Mexico, but as of course with us that you have to establish to have the best relations with. So that is just, of course, the dynamic where you have to be now in the concomitantly appellatives, to be, of course, in all these implementatives of my directives and policies as initiatives, that where we have to build them together. So now what we have to build now is the domain, and that domain is the Imperial Democratic Republic, always for the 63, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, and always for that domain we have now to live with. And here at top of the mountain to discuss the DRT now, the debt refusion theory. Super important that I focus on the DRT now, the debt refusion theory, before, of course, we put a stop to this video. But before that, just the DMAA, consult the DMAA. The direct military assistance and action is my theory protocol to be established in all NATO member countries because it has a consequence. And because of our assistance and action, which NATO member countries and NATO as a whole has taken vis-a-vis non-NATO member countries, that has created a potential adverse relationships where we are at risk, and where, of course, we see the solidification of relation between Russia and China, China and Russia solidifying their relations, and even to the point that we are now designated Canada as an unusual and extraordinary threat to the American people. One reason is given the growing fentanyl production and crossings into the United States, and the lack of coordination between Canadian law enforcement and US law enforcement. Hey, that is since August 1st. You can check in black and white there by the White House own declarations of the Trump administration. You know, the Trump administration. So we're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat. We're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat. So because we're designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat, that is just what we have, of course, to counterpoise and relatively be about. Because we have to build our best relations with the United States first and foremost. There's just no way out of that. Just the reality, consequentially. And the fact that the DMA has the consequences, which could be that Russia or other countries, because we assisted them militarily in an adversarial manner, which could kill their adversarial soldiers of the adjacent opposite armies, such as in Ukraine, right? We provided assistance. In Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and Pakistan, India, they're not part of NATO. But nonetheless, NATO member countries provided assistance, or it could be both assistance and action, and that has the consequences. So just like the motto of NATO is animus incur liber, and of course, now to notice that NATO only invoked Article 5 for common collective defense once. Only once. September 11th was the once and only time that NATO invoked Article 5. And of course, before October 7th, I was advocating for both Israel and Mexico to simultaneously join NATO. I was advocating before October 7th for both Israel and Mexico to join NATO. To join NATO, Israel and Mexico, before October 7th. Of course, technically, in a state of war, a country cannot join NATO. So meditate on the DMAA, just like the motto of NATO is animus incur liber. So must my theory, the DMAA, be deliberately and with wisdom taken into account, whether we're going to take action or we're going to assist in just the military manner. I'm not speaking about other ways of assistance here by NATO member countries. Just strictly military. It's strictly DMAA, direct military assistance or action or assistance, assistance or action, which can be counterpoised. And they have the C in parentheses, you know, they have the C in parentheses. So there's a C in parentheses, there's a C, right? So that is the C in parentheses. So we have the DMAA, the direct military assistance and action, where we have now the C in consequence. So now we're going to get to the DRT, debt refusion theory. The DRT, debt refusion theory, is my philosophy theory for the North American Collective. It has to be implemented binationally. Canada and the United States join because we have four main problems. Although it could be expanded with the Bank of International Settlements globally to avoid financial Armageddon. Financial Armageddon. Financial Armageddon. Financial Armageddon. Because we have four main problems, so that's why for both Canada and the United States, we share these four main problems at the moment in October 2025, that we must implement this DRT binationally. It is part of the binational bipolar strategy for total dedie, benevolent dominance and dominion of the world and for world peace by fusing Canada and the United States into the Imperial Democratic Republic complex. So the four main problems are the food prices are increasing, cost of living, growing cost of rents. I can't complain for me, but my rent went up. I'm going to not say exactly the amount. I'm just going to say between $6 and $10 Canadian. So my rent also went up. I'm not going to say by how much. My rent went up nonetheless. Okay? Of course, the growing cost of rents, as well as the growing credit card use. So those four main problems. Growing credit card use, credit card use, credit card debt, that is, growing cost of living, growing cost of rents, the growing cost of rents, growing credit card debt, growing cost of living, and of course the growing credit cards debt, cost of living, the stagnation of the salaries. The salaries are stagnated. So those are the four main problems. So the solution is the DRT, the debt refusion theory. Also includes monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. In the 90s. The Germans, they destroyed their national central banks. The Italians, French, Belgium, many countries. And they now have, since the 90s, long ago, the European Central Bank. The European Central Bank. So they have a multinational central bank. They no longer have a national central bank. They no longer have a national central bank. They have a common central bank, right? A common central bank. So that's just what we have to do. So we're going to have to take all the public. Well, this is the DRT explained. And again, inside my DRT, the debt refusion theory, it's integrated. Monetary integration theory is integrated in it. See, this is the tower where we're coming here, where in yesterday's video, at night, you see me, I'm zooming in towards the mountain while I was many kilometers, many miles, many miles and many kilometers away. I was southwest from the mountain, many miles and many kilometers away, but at one point in the video, you see I point the camera on the mountain from afar off, and I point towards the red RED, my favorite color, what I said, red bulb above here. So here's the DRT explained. We're going to take all the public-private debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, my $10,000, your $10,000. We're going to add all the public-private debt of Canada together. All the public-private debt of Canada together. We're going to convert it into US dollar. We're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to add it with the United States public-private debt. All that money is going to be the initial money supply plus the money in circulation. Look at that beautiful sunset. Of all the money in circulation for a new central bank. For a new central bank. For a new central bank. We're going to create a new currency, a new central bank, the Imperial Central Bank. Or, of course, the Imperial Dollar, a new money, which is going to have the value of the US dollar. Or, of course, the U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot UE. That is money, basically, whether it's a shekel, a yuan, a yen, a US dollar, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar,
XYZ, it's a unit of exchange, right? So we're gonna create the UE. U dot universal E dot exchange U dot UE. UE, the universal exchange. The U dot universal E dot exchange U dot UE. The universal exchange is gonna have the value of the US dollar. We're gonna get rid of the border fuse, mass finance healthcare, mass finance fitness, mass finance the building of those 44 tunnels, do a census of the Canadian US population, do a new biometric digital and paper new ID, Imperial passport, Imperial ID, where we have of course driver's license, health capabilities. We're going to mass finance fitness, mass finance also tourism, and in a parallel life I build satellite supercomputers. In a parallel life it is the year 2029. It is December 14th, the year darkness 2029, where I build, I design supercomputers, telecommunication rockets, and I know everything there is to know about supercomputers, ICBM rockets, satellite antennas such as this, radio telecommunication, and satellite sats I build in constellation in 2029, the year darkness 2029. So with the UE we're going to be able to build more sats, create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom as institutions, aka the Dragon Army for total security, total service, total defense, integrated with all existing institutions and organizations which we're going to absorb each other. The true north, strong and free. Look at that beautiful sunset. I love it, love it, love it. We're going to add some love and liberty. We're going to create the Dragon Army to be only for SSD, internal 63, always for the 10, the 50, and the 63. Let our empire rise and be. By creating the UE, implementing the DRT, we're going to mass finance fitness, also tourism. We're going to every 4 times a year, every spring, equinox and solstice of the spring, autumn, winters, autumn, spring, winter, autumn, summer. 4 days times 4 times a year, that's 16 every season. We're going to have officially 4 seasons every solstice, equinox across the 63, as we're going to fuse, merge Canada, United States, not annex Canada. We're going to fuse. There's no annexation here, there's a fusion for imperial democratic fusion of Canada, United States, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We're going to mass finance fitness, mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, and because a mass public-private partnership is required for balancing, reharmonizing the institutions and the complexities which now exist, we're going to mass finance citizens when they're 16 and plus for strong imperial esprit de corps to fight alienation and depression. They're going to have 4 nights where food, lodging, and crossings. They can go anywhere across the empire of the 63, from Quebec to Florida, from Yukon to the territories, from of course Columbia, British Columbia. Of course they could go to Tennessee, anywhere from one state. We're going to have 63 in our empire to another state. They can go and have fun, and 4 nights, everything included. Don't expect caviar and fancy chocolate bars and too much that. I'm just gonna keep it simple. For me, it's gonna apply for me as well. 4 days every 4 seasons. When you get to 44, you got to use them or lose them. You can use 4 times a year, 4 nights. Once you cross the second and past midnight, you lose a night, but you don't lose it. You lose it only if you're in transit, basically. But where transport, food, costs of food transport, port by the airplanes or by the airplanes, or by of course commuting with buses. We're going to have the imperial tourism buses which are going to serve that purpose. The military and the Dragon Army is going to serve for that rejuvenation, our youth, and for them to know that they're loved, and we're going to experience each other's states, 63 states in perpetually. We're going to establish that imperial protocol for forever, for our coming perpetually, for whenever time might come, for a world federation like that 5th element. But until then, our empire, let it rise and be, and we're gonna get that rock and roll, so that's gonna be that drill. We're gonna mass finance that, and mass finance fitness, this imperial tourist project, the benevolence of the imperial benevolence is a mass public-private partnership. Once they're 16 and over, 4 days are allocated, so you can take your 4 days 4 times a year, every 3 months. 3 times 4 is 12, that's a year. 4 days every season. There's going to be food, housing, and transport regardless of other considerations. Or you can take twice a year, 8 days. I'm just going to hamburger it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is going to be food covered, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 3. You can just have breakfast if you don't do the 3, or if you do a little bit, whatever. That's up to you, Just housing and hotels, motels anywhere across the 63, and the trains is going to be credited automatically via the Imperial Central Bank. We're going to have digital eye scanners and
with our security forces is going to be overseen. Food, housing, and transport. You could go dance. You take it a weekend, 2 days. Friday, Saturday is the Sabbath anyways. 2 days is the Sabbath anyway. So you can accumulate 8 days, or take 16 once a year, or twice a year 8, or you could take 4 times. That's going to be rejuvenation. That's going to be pleasure. That's going to be purpose. Purpose, pleasure, you know. So in accordance to whatever else on the side you got, work and education, that's going to be allowed for that. Those 4 days to manifest, where you can travel anywhere where you want. But if you travel far, then you got to take into account that you might not be able to. So you got to wait maybe to get 8 days. So pledge your allegiance, legions, the great empire of the rise for this Democratic Republic, and the DRT, the creation of the UE, for only SSD, the Dragon Army, the Imperial Integrated N.A.C.W.P via my total mobile defense theory, which I can't discuss over much because it's by national security sensitive. So the total mobile defense theory I cannot overly discuss over much. But of course the DJ, the Dancing Goddess Army, is something which I have to say myself. That is the Imperial Integrated Dance League, have to be formulated for total economic and environmental harmony. We're going to of course clean the rivers, clean the seas, clean the rivers. And of course, we're going to have to do those cleaning of those rivers into sentimentality, where we have to be loving and have to be in action. So this is the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, and laying the foundation with trains of kisses from the mountain Hawk. We're going to have the binational. Hawk Island is the binational with Washington, D.C. and 2 others in the West Coast. So the new capitals, parallel Hawk Island, and establishing the Appalachians in the mountains, you know, so we're going to fuse and merge and pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Rock and roll 24/7 for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, electricians, the plumbers, the doctors. I'm going back home now, so I'll see you, and this is a video, and every video, and this is my marching dance loving. I'm happy, joyous, just financially stressed, but hey, I got that halva, so I'm gonna go do back a little bit of geopolitics, a bit of emails, see if I get some responses. I applied to some job, always open for business and pleasure, 24/7 for the firefighters, plumbers, electricians, the workers of our empire. Let it rise and let it be for the N.A.C.W.P. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Thou art family.